My name is Dr. Beverly Wright. I am the founding director of the Deep South Center for Environmental Justice in New Orleans, Louisiana. I began the center almost 30 years ago because of a need that I saw occurring in our area in Louisiana called the Mississippi River Chemical Corridor or Cancer Alley. And what I noticed is that African American communities were being disproportionately affected by environmental pollutants, specifically 156 petrochemical plants and 6 refineries in an 85-mile stretch of land between New Orleans and Baton Rouge. There was definitely a need to find a way to give voice to the communities that were being affected, but because of a lot of things related to our history of racism, slavery, discrimination, Jim Crow, all of those things that make disenfranchised people from our system, does not allow them to be involved in the democratic processes. And the end result is that they are given a raw deal. And the worst of everything ends in their community. So today we're supposed to talk about justice, democracy, and climate change. And these three things are intrinsically linked. We can start off by talking about justice. So a justice is a condition based on a set of values and principles to ensure that benefits and consequences should be equally distributed without malice or discrimination based on race, age, sexual orientation, or national origin. On the other hand, democracy is a process that can incentivize and institutionalize justice. It allows the voice of people through their vote to drive community and societal decisions to be made that represent their voice and their choice. Climate change, on the other hand, is the absence of either. It represents a complete disregard for the principles of justice. Therefore, it is possible for people of color to be, one, disproportionately exposed to environmental pollutants, the development of where I live, for example, the Mississippi River Chemical Corridor, or Cancer Alley, as it's called by the residents of Louisiana. It allows health disparities by race and income, with higher levels of sickness and disease from cancer to asthma to exist for people of color. It allows for, regardless of income, 75% of African Americans in 48 states living with air pollution at a rate that's much higher than their white counterparts. And air pollution can cause heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, asthma, just a host, early death, a host of things that should not be occurring, but they occur for just these particular people or this subset of our community that is devalued. It allows death rates, for example, from pandemics that occur, and we're talking specifically about COVID, that occur because of environmental pollution, specifically PM 2.5, which is small particles of air pollution produced by the fossil fuel industry. It allows these people to have higher death rates or mortality rates and illness from COVID-19 because of this romantic relationship that exists between air pollution and COVID-19. It's such tiny particles that the COVID-19 virus attaches itself to it, which means people who live in these areas breathe it in and they breathe it deep into their lungs. And I'm sad to say that my community in New Orleans, Louisiana, was probably subjected to the first cases and worst cases of COVID-19, causing high levels of sickness and death in a certain parish, which is St. John Parish, a parish that is just surrounded by air pollution. It allows people of color neighborhoods to be declared a dumping ground for this country, or the sacrifice zones for this particular country, for our country, where all of the disamenities are allowed to be placed through redlining. Another feature that is being brought up in the news more recently, but something that Black people in particular have always known. And so justice, democracy, and climate change are intrinsically connected. Racism and the overall devaluing of some people and not others is the reason, is what allows us to do things that have caused the planet to heat up. It is causing the earth to become a hostile environment for human beings. It is racism that has been the driver behind our behavior, that has not allowed justice to prevail for everyone, or for the democratic process to be something that people, all of our people participate in. Consequently, it allows us to act in ways that can not just hurt the people that we don't care about, but hurt our whole planet. And because of our behavior and the fact that justice and democracy are not working in the way that it should in our country, we have climate change. Just imagine if we saw all human beings as being a part of our family. What would we do to protect them? What decisions would we make what decisions would we make that would in fact cause us to not be where we are? We'd make different decisions if we knew that it was going to harm our families, our children. That inability to value all of us and the exclusion of democracy, which gives us a voice, which leads to injustice, has caused climate change. And we have to do better. We need to start seeing the whole human race, that we are a family. We are a family on this earth. And always remember, the earth will survive, regardless of what we do to it. But will we? We need the earth to survive. The earth does not need us. And we are destroying it in a way that it can at some point no longer be a home for us. Extinction is a possibility if we don't begin doing things differently. And the driver behind this has to be democracy, so that we can get justice in a way that protects all of us. So I'd like to end this little short conversation on a note that is particularly personal. Growing up in the South during a time of segregation was hard for everyone, but we managed. I believe that at that time, we really didn't know a lot about pollution and the fossil fuel industry and the negative impacts of those processes on the earth and on our own bodies as it relates to our health. And I often remember my father saying, as we would drive from New Orleans to Louisiana, and we get close to the chemical plants in Baton Rouge, and the scent would be awful, and we would just complain. And my father would say, smells like progress. Well, what we know now is that progress came at great cost to the people who lived in that area, and also to the planet in general. And we're always told, when you know better, you do better. My fear is that although we know better, we are on a road to replace dangerous processes that cause pollution and make people sick with, with new dangerous processes that will cause the same communities to become sick and destroy the earth in those areas, and not at all ending up in a place where we want to be, and that is the reduction of greenhouse gases and the cleaning up of the communities that have been harmed, and changing the basic quality of life for these communities. The future is in our hands, and it is extremely important that at this point in our history that we make the right decision. That decision should be towards renewable energy, towards the reduction of greenhouse gases, but all in ways that don't harm certain people, that we devalue and turn new places or the same places into sacrifice zones. It is up to us to change the trajectory that our society has been on, because it truly is one of destruction. Thank you.